Welcome to Help! I Have Kids. I'm your host, Pam Marshall, a mom of 5 and a pediatric occupational therapist with over 35 years experience. This podcast is designed to equip you with practical tools, insights from experts, and real-life stories. Because at the end of the day, you are the head of your child's care team. Each week, you'll hear from pediatric experts and fellow moms like you that will help build your confidence. They'll offer clarity and empower you to make informed decisions that work for your whole family. Today, I'm joined by someone who has a mission of helping children and families with ADHD, Tyler Dorsey. She is the founder and executive director of Focus Forward ADHD. It's a nationally recognized education program and coaching program to help kids, families, and adults. Yep. I'm so happy you're here, Tyler.
I'm so grateful you guys have had me. This is going to be such a great conversation.
It is, because ADHD, we all either know someone personally, or we ourselves have ADHD, or we just know loved ones around us that have it. It's common, and lots of us struggle.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about, how did you get into this, and what's your journey?
Yeah, what's my journey with ADHD? Well, I was diagnosed, I was 11 when I got my official diagnosis. I distinctly can remember being in kindergarten and playing different than the other girls. And I was like, I want to go build blocks. I want to go do this. I want to go do that. Like, I don't want to sit still in color. And then in first grade, so I also have a dyslexia diagnosis. And so in first grade, we started struggling with spelling tests, and we started struggling. And so they were like, we don't know like what's what. My mom was like, well, let's see if she's going to grow out of it. Like, let's see what it is. And mind you, I'm a 90s baby. So there wasn't, ADHD was a diagnosis in the 80s first, and it was in the late 80s, early 90s that it became an ADHD, not just ADD diagnosis. And so there was still not a ton of information out there. And so my mom was like, well, let me just see what happens. Like, let's just see. And I was the oldest, so she was also like, I don't know what's normal, what's not. Yeah. And so then first grade comes and goes, and I make it. It was fine, but I remember sitting at the table at the kitchen island with my parents and trying to study the spelling words and I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I want to go run. Yeah. Second grade got harder. And then my second grade teacher actually was like, hey, Lisa, I think Tyler has ADHD. Like, I think you need to go look into it. And my mom was like,
oh, thank goodness.
Okay, but she wasn't ready yet. She's like, let me just keep seeing what happens. Third grade goes by, it got worse. Fourth grade goes by, it got even worse. And then fifth grade, she was like, all right, let's go do something about this.
There's a problem.
Yeah, it's like every single year, it progressively got worse. And frankly, what got worse was my desire to avoid doing the task.
The avoidance.
So she was like, what is going on? And so we went, and I was diagnosed ADHD and dyslexia, like mild dyslexia. And I was put on Adderall, lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I was a little itty bitty thing anyway. So then they put me on Strattera, and I hated Strattera because it made me feel different. It took my personality away. And so I just remember from like fifth grade to frankly, like end of high school, I was on Strattera, but I never really took it. And I was always like begging the teachers to let me pass that grade at the end of every single grading period. And it just was like a battle at school, and it was a battle at home. At home, I was a behavior problem. At school, I wasn't a behavior problem, but I was an academic problem. And so it just got worse every single year. And
I bet in here, you were really struggling.
God. Like literally, I was like, okay, like I'm just stupid. I'm just like not capable. Now my dad has severe dyslexia. So my dad could talk to me on like the extent of like the struggle and struggling in school, because he was very similar. My mom is very much an undiagnosed severe ADHD, and she'll agree with that. And so she gets the hyperactivity and my drive to go. But when you like combined them, and you factored in the fact my mom never did struggle academically, and my academic struggles weren't just because of dyslexia. Like, it was because I didn't have the executive function to get the things done.
To do it. Yeah. And for you moms listening, executive function is like the ability to organize, plan, sequence, and then execute a task.
Exactly.
It's all of those things.
And it's the ability to I'm going to say turn on motivation. You can't motivation is an emotionally driven result, but to be able to understand that and know how do I still get this thing done? Like that's executive function. And so, yeah, it really did. It took a massive hit at my confidence. Now, socially, I struggled like internally, but anyone observing on the outside would be like, she doesn't struggle socially.
Right.
Internally, I'd be like, I just said something I shouldn't have said. And
you didn't look all that different. But you had an awareness of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because I played volleyball and I played collegiate volleyball too. Well, there were times I wasn't allowed to play because my grades weren't good enough. And so then that set me apart. And that made it so that everyone could see, or when they'd give you your test back and you had the big red F like circled on it and I'm like flipping it over. And so no, it absolutely did take a pretty big hit on me. So then it came time for college and my mom was like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to play volleyball. And I was very driven by volleyball. And like, frankly, volleyball is the only reason I got into any schools was because the coaches wanted me bad enough to like help me get in. And so I ended up going to Thomas More College up in Northern Kentucky and basically almost failed out my freshman year because I no longer had the teachers who were willing to get me through.
Right.
And the structure that the parents were providing, like it was all gone. It was all on me and my skill set that I had, and I frankly didn't have one.
And there was probably no IEP that followed you to college.
Oh, I didn't even have it. I went to a private school, so I didn't. That wasn't even accommodations. Was just something the teachers did solo. It wasn't a formal thing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, like I've got a choice here. Do I want to drop out? Like, is school just not the thing for me and go get a job, or do I want to figure this thing out and stay in school? And so I received a letter from the dean and it was like, hey, you have to have a 2. I had like a 1.1, 1.2. And she was like, you have to have a 2.0 by, it was going into my sophomore year. If I didn't have a 2.0, I couldn't stay at the school and I couldn't play volleyball. So I was on a mission. I was like,
wow.
Okay.
Did they have tutoring to help you? Like a tutoring program?
They did.
Yeah.
I avoided it. And so I was like, I knew that my problem was me, not me in the sense of like, I needed to go do some things for dyslexia. It was me in the sense of like, I had to figure out, and I had to be the one who made the choice to find systems and build my skills. Yeah. And I knew that.
It's amazing that you had the ability in that emotional state to make that decision on your own, to say, I'm going to decide to figure this out.
Yeah.
Like that takes a lot of courage.
And self-awareness, frankly.
Self-awareness, yes.
And I honestly think it boils down to school wasn't the only thing I was avoiding. Like I'd avoid hard conversations. I'd avoid cleaning my room. So I just knew it wasn't a school thing.
Yeah.
Like school was the most obvious thing because it requires you get a grade for the executive function skills you have, so to speak. And so that was the most obvious, but it wasn't just school. Was
packing really hard for you? Like anytime you had to pack for an overnight volleyball game or trip or?
Yes and no. I frankly don't remember a ton of packing stuff when it came to, I just remember like I'd take all it down to my mom's room. And in college, it wasn't as big of a deal because my coach would text out the whole team and be like, hey, this is what you need to make sure you have.
Oh, so you would just follow the list.
Yeah. So I would just follow the list. Plus, mind you, and this goes into the interest versus not interested, I was locked into volleyball. So I wasn't going, I was a starter. I was I was not going to forget something that was going to prevent me from stepping on the court.
Yeah, you knew that you had to have your entire uniform, everything you needed.
Yes, and that kind of goes into the like, I knew I was capable because I knew in situations where I was really interested, I would do it great. And so I was like, I know that this is possible. I got to figure out what are my missing pieces that makes it hard for my brain to fire when I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So that's what started it. So then I figured it out. I had to take 18 hours every semester plus school. Summer school, and I played volleyball, and I worked a 40-hour week job.
That's
sophomore, junior, senior year.
Impressive.
And I was just like,
impressive.
We're going to go. And then senior year comes, and they're like, so what are you doing with your life? And I was like, I have no idea. I'm a psych major or something.
Yeah.
And I knew I was interested in helping people with ADHD. And my family friend, who's a psychiatrist, was like, you should go look into ADHD life coaching. And I was like, huh? Like, what is this
What
thing?
is that?
This was in 2013. And so I Google it, and this conference at the time, what is the ADHD Coaches Organization, they they've now combined the conference to go with the ADHD Coaches Organization in Chad. But at the time, it was just for coaches. And so I called my mom and I was like, hey, can you fly me out to Arizona? I was 21 years old and I was like, I just want to see what this thing is. I can't find a lot of information online. And my mom was like, sure. So we booked the trip. Luckily, we had family friends who lived in Phoenix where it was. And I flew out there. There were maybe 60 to 100 women there.
You were probably the youngest.
By at least a decade, probably 2 decades. They were all like, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, I'm trying to figure out what this thing is.
Right.
And then I just ran with it. I went and got a job at Lexington Catholic High School. They'd started the High Marks program. I said, you need help. I'm cheap. Tell me what you can give me. I'll do it. And then I had started Focus Forward while there. And then 4 years later, I was like, I want to have a bigger impact. And so I left. And for the last 8 years, I've been doing this solo. And we've taken Focus Forward nationwide now.
It is amazing what
so
you've
fun.
done. It is so fun. So now you have coaches that...
We do. We have a team of amazing coaches that literally help from kids to parents to adults to teens to college students, from academics to emotional support, whatever it is, they are all have a variety of training where we really just help make sure that whatever you're struggling with and you have ADHD, we're going to pair you with the coach who can really help you work through that.
I would have loved to have you back when I was struggling as a mom with ADHD.
I would have loved to have me back then. I know. It would have been quite the game changer at that time.
Quite the game changer. Hard to navigate. So as an occupational therapist, I knew a few things, which was great that I could help my child, but I still had a passion for not going straight to medication and didn't want... my husband and I didn't want to just immediately go to medication. We knew that wasn't the quick, the fix, that we put that off as long as we could, really trying to help his brain mature and develop. But it's a struggle. So you moms out there, we get it.
Yes.
I felt like beating my head against a brick wall most of the time. Yeah. And it's hard. So tell me, I have a question for you. What's something you wish every mom, well, you're a mom.
I am.
Tell me about that too, before we dive into this question. You're a mom.
I am a mom. I have a soon-to-be 6, soon-to-be 5, a 2-year-old, and one due in March.
It's so exciting.
It's so exciting.
We were just talking about how exciting that is.
I know. I have a mini me. His name's Teddy.
Aww.
He's been in OT. We've had quite the experience. I went and I was like, guys, I'm telling you, he was 3, newly 3. And I was like, he has ADHD. And they're like, he's 3. And I'm like, I know what I'm seeing and I'm telling you what I'm seeing. And so we went, his doctor was like, you know what you're talking about, so I'm going to take your word for it. And then we went to OT because I was like, I could sense there was something a little more than ADHD just going on, because there was some sensory stuff. There was just some other stuff that I was like, all comorbid with ADHD. But I was like, this, as a 3-year-old, it's showing more. And the OT was like, yeah, you're spot on. And so he has been a fun one, frankly fun to parent for me. Challenging, yes, but I am so convicted that ADHD is a superpower and that it's through the struggle of ADHD that your strength is born.
Absolutely.
And so for that reason, even on the hard days, I'm like, this is the most exciting thing ever, because I know who he gets to be on the other side. And I know who I get to become as a mom, because it's one thing for me to have gone through ADHD, but for me to be able to lead my child through his own brain is it requires a whole nother skill set. It requires a whole nother, not necessarily level of understanding, but it requires a different level of being able to communicate with your child to pull out what the heck is this kid thinking?
Right. What is going on in his brain?
I'm like, Teddy, what? And he's like, well, Mom, my brain told me. I'm like, you know what? That is a start. And that's really what's been so cool is, as soon as I saw the writing on the wall, I was like, I immediately started forming this relationship with him where when he got in trouble, he knew he was in trouble. And if there was a consequence, there was a consequence. But he also knew I wanted to hear what was his side of the story. Yeah. Because it's in his side of the story that I learned what led to the action he took, whether he hit his sibling or screamed at me or I don't know, whatever kids
the
do,
thing, whatever
it is that day.
Yeah.
And so we've been going on 2 years. That's what every single time he's in trouble, now he'll holler at the top of the stairs. I'm like, hey, you need to go in your room and just take a breather. He'll holler up and he'll be like, hey, Mom, I'm calm now. Can you come talk to me? And I'm like, all right. And I come up. Sometimes he's gives me a bucket full of you know what. And I'm like, buddy, I can see right through this. And sometimes he's like, okay, this is what's really going on. And it's so cool to watch a almost 5-year-old, a 4-year-old be able to communicate with me and tell me what's going on inside his brain. And that's what tells me what he needs.
Right.
It's not his action that's telling me what his action's telling me something's going on.
Yeah.
But the words he says are what tells me what he needs. And that's possibly the coolest part. But that was a skill I had to develop because I can address my own thoughts and know what I'm thinking, but I can't know what someone else is thinking. So that's a skill.
And it's so hard as a mom when we really do multitask.
Yeah.
I mean, you're caring for this kid over here, this thing's happening over here, the phone's ringing, and you have this kid that you're dealing with. And so all of that, it's hard not to just be reactive in the moment because we're human.
I know.
And you have to cognitively override the reactivity and go, take a deep breath.
Yep.
Okay.
What do I want to show them? What I have to,
Right.
If I'm going to react in this way and they were to mirror me and do the same thing, what would I say to them? Would I say that's not appropriate? And it's remembering we're human. We're going to react. But that's actually the coolest part is when you become someone who is way more self-aware and has the skill set to check yourself in the moment, then when it does happen, that's such a cool opportunity to go back and be like, hey, bud, like that is my fault. I'm the one who screamed or yelled or snapped at you or whatever it was. And I get to explain why I did it. And not through a lens of like, I hope this feels better, but through a lens of like helping him see what that thought process looks like to realize that self-awareness of why you took the action and then say, and so this is what I'm going to do different next time.
Yeah. And it's beautiful to admit when you're wrong
it's
to
so
your
cool.
child. It's beautiful to do that.
And it teaches them to do the same.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what makes it human. But it's backfired a little bit because now my daughter's like, hey, Mom, you probably need to go take a breath. And I'm like, I'm literally fine. And she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, uh-huh. But she's trying to practice and like model. She's my like little mom. And so she can't pick up on like when it's actually worthy of taking a breath and when it's just like I'm running around trying to get dinner cooked. I'm not mad. I'm not.
She thinks she's helping you in the moment.
She thinks she's helping, or she'll tell her brother, and I have to tell her to stop momming her brother. She's like, Teddy, you should probably go calm down in your room. And I'm like, no, babe, you don't get to do that. But it's so funny. And Teddy does the same thing. But it's also really cool because that shows that they're starting to pick up on those signals too.
Yeah. So powerful.
Yeah.
I love it. I remember and I think I told this to you before in a conversation. I remember what the psychologist that diagnosed our son said. If he has such a beautiful soul, and if you'll just keep people from wrecking him.
Yeah.
And it's true for us as moms. Like I took that to heart, not just other people, but myself.
Yeah.
Like I have the responsibility to not wreck him.
Yeah.
Like, because we can be reactive and it is hard. But if we can see the beauty in our child and see their strengths and help them just like you're doing.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It's so cool though, you saying that. I had a client, he's in college, and we were talking because we're planning for maternity leave, and he's like, what do you mean I have to be without you?
Yeah.
And I said, what is the most important thing to you when we look at someone who can help you while I'm gone? He literally said this. He said, Tyler, you have a way of showing up and making everything positive while still telling me where I suck. Yeah. It's not that that's what I'm saying. He's a very direct person, but it's like, he's like, you call me out, but I never feel like I'm stupid. I never feel like I'm incapable. He's like, every time you tell me what I'm not seeing, you phrase it in a way that makes me be like, oh, I get to go work on that. I get to do this. Or like, wow, like I never saw that before. And like she sees like where I'm at and what's possible. And I think that's what that looks like, is being able to kind of call them on it whenever you need to, bring awareness to it, while also being like, hey, this doesn't mean we're fixed here. This just means like this is where we're at. Yeah. And guess where you get to go. Yeah. And so that's and that's also a parenting skill. Like if I could get a way to just implant that skill into every single mom, because it is a skill. You have to practice. It takes your own like ability to stay calm, cool, and collected, your own ability to be convicted in what's possible on the other side, as well as the ability to gain the knowledge of who your child is while also holding the knowledge of what ADHD is. But when you can practice that and get to that place as a mom who your child always is seeking to be able to find like what's possible for them or their comfort or their next move, they're going to be so much more confident in their next move because they're just seeing it come out of you. And I think that's what was so cool was I was like, I heard that from him. And that's something I've worked like extremely intentionally on. But I was like, that's really cool to hear because that's what we're all about at Focus Forward is whether it be for the parents or the kids, like helping you call yourself out when you need to be called out and say, but here's what's so possible. It doesn't mean it's not possible. It just means this is a roadblock we need to work on next.
Right. Yeah. That's where they're stuck.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Good. That's kind of answering this question I had is what's something you wish every mom who has a child with ADHD, what's something you wish they knew? So you talked about that skill. Is there something else you wish they knew?
There's so much, but it is so hard to be in the throes of ADHD, especially when you have tried so many things and literally nothing has worked.
Yeah.
But I think the number one thing as someone who has ADHD and was always failing and was a behavior problem, like my parents cheered when they dropped me off to college because they were like, peace and quiet in our home. Like I was just.
Get out of the house. We're done with you.
Were like, we love you and we'll see you at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And my siblings did too because I have 3 younger siblings and they were like.
All stressed out.
Finally, yes. I mean, I was wreaking havoc. And what I can say is that was so hard. And yes, it definitely took a hit to my self-esteem. But that experience, that struggle is exactly what gave me the strength I have today. And it's why I am who I am today. And it requires you to be willing to do something with the hard and to go through the hard. But there is not a thing in this life that doesn't require some sort of pressure for something beautiful to come out on the other side. Diamonds.
Absolutely.
Diamonds have to go through pressure to become a diamond. Butterflies have to literally force their way through pressure out of a cocoon so they can fly, so they can survive. Like, so many things in this life require pressure. And I think, we know why. Like, we tend to avoid the pressure. We tend to avoid the hard. We don't want to see our babies hurt. But I think that's where I actually get excited.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yes, we're failing. What do we get to learn from this? Like, who do we get to become? And I know it's so hard, but I also just know that's the part of the recipe.
It's Miss Frizzle. Let's get messy and make mistakes.
Oh, my kids are watching Magic School Bus right now, and I'm like, this makes my little 90s
I know,
heart so happy.
It's the best.
No,
Magic School Bus, she had a lot of smart things to say. So, moms, that's encouragement to you. Like, you feel like you've tried everything and nothing's working, but keep going. Yeah. Keep going, and don't let your kids get away with stuff. Like, don't let your ADHD child get away with it.
No.
You got to challenge them in just the right way and encourage them and love them. So that's really wise.
Yeah.
Wise.
ADHD, and you've got to go do the digging to figure out what aspect of your child and their ADHD is the one that needs strengthening. But ADHD and becoming someone who can very naturally and like know it like at the back of your hand, operate day in, day out without the chaos. It's just like any other muscle. You just have to work it, and it's going to have to break down, and it's going to have to hurt, and it's going to have to go through some intense things. But if you keep working on that, on the other side, you're going to see that muscle start to be able to lift things heavier, which looks like you being able to get your laundry done more consistently, or
get anything done.
Or your kids maybe won't hide all of their clothes under their bed or in their closet like I used to when you're asked to clean. Or maybe they're still struggling to get homework done, but they're way more willing to say, "Hey, mom, can you help me figure out how to get started?" And that just requires you to stick to it. I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, Tyler, it just sounds like a lot of self-work. And I said, it is.
It's a lot of self-work.
And that's why none of the tools work, is because the tools alone don't do anything for you. It's the self-work with the tools that create the results.
Right.
And that's what matters. That's what gets you out of the cycle.
And that's key, because if you don't decide to do something, like you decided, you made that decision in college and decide to do something. You know, I do see adults that still struggle, and they're not deciding to do something about it, because there's so many tools, but they have to take the action. The adult has to take the action. Yep. So there's probably moms listening that have ADHD that
possibly
need to do that too. Do any of your children hyper focus?
Oh, I would say we're too young to like really know so far. I can see it in Teddy. He loves to build. Like, I mean, we're talking about the kid who, like, if I was like, hey, Teddy, we got to sit through this dinner, and it's not a dinner he's excited, we are the whole time redirecting.
Yeah.
But if I've got, like, there's these little toys that have, like, you build toy trucks and it's got the screws and all that. That kid, since he was like 3.5, can put those things together and he locks in. My daughter, she's got some traits of anxiety. She could be ADHD because I know what ADHD is. I don't think she is. But I walked in yesterday and I was like, if this is not a sign of how I operate, I hear this like soft music going. This is the kid. I'm in my office working. I work from home, and my kids say, "Hey, Mom, can we move our like little craft table from the living room into our toy room?" And I said, "That sounds wonderful. Go do it." Yeah. And so I hear him say, "Hey, Mom, come check it out." And I walk in, and they've got it all set up and all organized. My daughter is like my organizer, and it's all organized. And I was like, "Oh, babe, this looks so good." And she's like, "Yeah, we're going to color." And I said, "Okay, I'm going to go work. You just come get me if you need me." And she said, "Okay." And all of a sudden, I hear music. And I was like, where the heck is this music coming from? And it's like lullaby, soft, calming music. And I was like, what is going on? Like,
she was trying to calm Teddy.
No. I walk in. They have those little Tony's boxes where you put a character in place. And I walk in, and they're all sitting there coloring. And I said, "Babe, what's going on in here?" And she goes, "Mom, it's our focus music." I was like, I can tell you, my focus music was like, a Millie from Lil Wayne. I cranked us out to drown out all the noise. It was not calming music. And I was like, that's focus. She was like, we're focusing so we can color. If she didn't have Teddy, my 4-year-old, and Luke, my 2.5-year-old, sitting at this table coloring, I was like, you are something special.
You got to put her in charge.
I was like, all right, Missy. But it was so funny. So yeah, they were just focusing. But so I've seen her lock in, but she is such a, at the moment, like typical learner that there's nothing. I'm like, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're good.
She'll be great. She'll be fine.
Yeah, but Teddy, I can tell. And I notice with family who doesn't fully understand ADHD and what it is. And I'm like, this is not worth my effort right now. You just think what you want. But I'll notice that they'll make comments about like when he's focusing and when he's not. And they're seeing the pattern of when he does versus when he doesn't. And it always has to do with what he's really interested in, what he's not.
Right. That's the driver.
It's the driver. Yeah. And so it's really funny to like watch some of my family sit there and be like, well, he can focus with this and not with that. I'm like, well, yeah, you're right. It's not worth my time to explain it to you right now, but you are correct.
I know. So moms, that's true for you. When I know what that feels like. You see your kid focus at times and then not. And it feels real selective. And other people around you are saying, I don't think he has ADHD. He just decides when he's focusing or not. But that's actually a sign of ADHD. Yes. Like they actually can focus on the things that are motivating and kind of driving the good behavior. And then the hard things and the challenging things
floats away. And here's how I like to explain it. So think about something you enjoy doing.
Right.
And it comes more, ADHD or not, it comes more naturally for you to just get that thing done versus the thing you don't want to do. Well, if you don't want to do it and you don't have ADHD, you still have the skill set to fall on, to organize, to get your attention where, like, literally imagine a laser, turn that laser of attention where it needs to go. You have the skills to know what steps it takes. Yeah. And when we're not interested in it, it relies on our skill set to get the task done. Well, we don't have that skill set. Whereas when we are interested in it, we still don't have that skill set necessarily. But because our interest is driving the action, it gets done. It just kind of happens. And that's why I say, like, I knew that it was so possible for me to figure it out when I was uninterested too, because I was falling on it when I was interested. But I was like, but why am I lacking the skill? And it was because it takes so much more effort for your brain to intentionally use those skills versus when it's just acting second nature because it's something you've learned and you're really interested in. And like even volleyball, like I was decently good. I played D3 volleyball. I was decently good at volleyball. But even then, I was really interested in it. And there were times that they had to tell me 10 different times how to do this one thing. And it took those 10 times for them to tell me. Now, was I still locked in trying? Absolutely. Yeah. But was I getting it fast? No.
No. You needed high repetition.
I had to have high repetition. And I will never forget. Because when I went to college, they switched up how I did certain things. And I will never forget, I just told them, I said, just give me one movement at a time. Yeah. And I said, if you help me lock in just one movement and let's build it, I will get there. Versus trying to show me like the whole thing.
The whole thing.
And so they did that.
And what was your position?
Whoa. I was a middle. Yeah. So it was intentional because if too much time went by, my attention would float. I actually have a hilarious volleyball story.
You were on the net.
I was on the net.
Yeah.
And they were serving. And I was paying zero attention because this little kid was on the other side of the gym playing with this massive truck. And I was locked into this truck.
To the truck. You were like,
Literally. So the whole play goes on. I'm just standing at the net. My coach is like, imagine, you know those scenes in movies where it's like you see the person locked in and you can just hear the noise behind you. And you can hear that they're like trying to get that person's attention, but you can't it's like blurred out around them. That's what it was like. And so I know my coach was trying to get my attention. My passer behind my job was to literally prevent the ball from coming over the net if it was at a certain height. My passer behind me, I didn't get it, got drilled in the face because I was paying no attention.
And you were looking at the truck.
Yeah. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, there's a really cool truck over there. And so again, something I was locked into.
You were like,
I just squirreled. And that's just to show even when we're interested, there are going to be things we miss because we are still missing this skill set that needs developing.
Yeah. Wow. Fascinating.
It was wild. That was
so fascinating. Well, there's so much mom guilt. Yeah. Like when you're raising a kid with ADHD, because like we talked about before, we're not perfect. We're humans and we make mistakes. And what are some strategies that work for you? I know I can share one real quick that worked for me. Is I would have to actually say to myself, okay, you messed up. Now you need to forgive yourself. Because I'd be so hard on myself.
Yeah.
And then I would have that perspective, like if I felt like I failed that day, like I had more, angry responses than loving, supportive responses, I would just go, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. I know tomorrow's a new day. And I'm going to start all over fresh. And I'm going to let this go. And I know that was a strategy that really helped me forgive myself and help me start fresh again and not be beating up on myself for messing up. But what's the strategy you use as a mom? Or
I was going to say, honestly, my mom's strategy is the same strategy I've been using with myself since college. And it's that I'm human. I'm going to make a step that I don't agree with, that I'm frustrated over, that I'm embarrassed about, whatever it is. And what do I want to learn from that?
Yeah.
And as a mom, have there been times I've had mom guilt? Yeah. But frequently, not really. And it's not because I think that I'm this amazing mom. It's because I'm just so convicted in the fact that that situation was intended to teach me something. I get to decide to use that as a lesson and do something different next time. Now, I could try to do something different next time and get the same result or do the same thing again because it takes repetition on my part. But that's where there's this, they call it the, what is it called? The emotional, I can't remember what it's called right now, but basically what it explains is a lot of people, you have to go through a valley of despair to get to the other side and be successful and get the result you want. And so anytime those moments happen, I'm just I'm in the valley and I'm so excited to see what comes out on the other side.
Yeah.
And so it's not that I don't necessarily feel the guilt, but it is that I move through it pretty fast because I'm just, at this point, I went from such chaos with my ADHD and a point of my mom being can she ever live by herself?
Yeah. Can she ever do anything?
Can she,
I had those thoughts too about my
is she going to have to live in my house for the rest of her life?
Right.
To someone who's thriving. And I know who I had to become and what I had to go through, that I guess now when I get through those moments that create the mom guilt or create that, I'm just genuinely this is just another part of who I get. I'm so excited to see who God's crafting me to be.
Yeah.
That's how I really look at it. So it's not that I don't have the guilt, but it is that I move through it pretty fast because I'm just so convicted now in the process. That's got to be a part of the process.
I feel like I was same. I would move through it pretty quickly, but I know I hear it.
Yes, I hear it frequently.
Don't you? I hear it a lot in parents.
Yeah.
And I think it's just they don't have the tools yet or the education yet to help them with it.
I think when I think about it too, and I think about what tools don't we have? We could read so much on Google and so much on ChatGPT and so much on everything, in moms groups. And I think this is where we've got a lot of the moms I talk to, know what ADHD is. They know what the tools are. But it's that parenting skill set to be able to apply that and go pull out who your child is and how they think and pull those two things. And I think that's where like my conviction comes, like this is a part of the process because I have that skill set. And that's what we help teach parents how to develop is like, how do you develop this skill set so that when the hard comes, you're so convicted in your own ability to help work through it, even if you don't know at that moment, that you're just like, we're going to figure it out. Like, this is hard, but we're going to figure it out.
We're going to figure it out together.
Yeah. So it really is the skill set of meeting your child, who your child is, not just the diagnosis.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So good. And, you know, parents love tips. So I feel like we should talk about that a little bit. And, you know, tips for organization, routines, how to get out the door, you know, some of those things that just are the everyday struggle. And I can share some things I did, and maybe you can share some things you did that would be helpful. So one of the things I did is I realized that my son did not need me yakking at him all day, you know, just the talk, because he wasn't processing it. He wasn't able to hear it. He wasn't able to take action. So I knew that was an ineffective way to communicate with him, and I had to look for other ways. So I learned, because I'm not naturally a good nonverbal person, but I had to really work at nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
And we developed this whole thing, and then I taught it to all my kids, and it ended up being a really beautiful thing. So when he needed my attention and I was in the middle of a conversation with another adult, or maybe I was on the phone or something like that, he would come up and touch my arm. And that meant, I taught him that meant, hey, mommy, I need to talk to you.
Yeah.
And then my response back to him is I would take my hand and put it on him. So that would say back, hey, bud, I know you want to talk to me.
Yeah.
Just wait. And so he would wait. And that nonverbal cue helped him stop interrupting me.
Yep.
And helped him know he can't get away with that behavior. And I hear him and I know. And depending on their age, like when they're pretty young, you might need to say, hold on just a minute, and turn and say something to them, you know, because if they've been waiting a minute, they maybe can't wait 5 minutes. Maybe you need to turn and say, okay, what is it that you need? And if they get it out, you can say, okay, I'm going to get off the phone in a few minutes and I'll talk to you about that then. Or give them the quick answer if it's a quick answer. And it just took so much stress out. It was such a good little tip to do.
Well, and you saying that, the other thing you factor in with ADHD is our bodies are constantly seeking calm. And the best way to get that fast is through borrowing someone else's calm. And so with my 5-year-old, with Teddy, what I do when he does stuff like that, and I know he's going to keep asking me, I'll be like, hey, bud, do you want to sit on my lap? And I will just like squeeze him. And I'll just hold him until I can respond. And he doesn't usually ask me anything else. Now, I'm not going to do that when he is 15 years old. But what I can tell you as an adult, I still do, is whether it's my husband or someone, whoever's close to me, I'll grab their hand and I'll just hold their hand to try and like get that calm and get my brain to silence when I'm like wanting to interrupt, or I have something I want to say, or something's like making me frustrated, and I'll just like sit there and I'll be like, don't talk to me. Just hold my hand.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's also really cool because that helps them borrow calm from you, because through that physical touch, you can create
you
that.
can do it. Yeah.
That's
and
really cool.
as an OT, and that's something great, you can learn, moms, if you take your child to OT, there's a lot of deep pressure and
so much
joint compressions and so many little tips you can learn to automatically give your child once you know what your child needs, once you understand their sensory needs. But I think nonverbal communication is so powerful.
So powerful.
And is a skill all ADHD moms need to have in their pocket. They need to learn how to communicate nonverbal. And even things like when he would come in the door, I had a picture schedule and I would just point to it. I wouldn't say anything. I would just get eye contact with him, and then I'd go like this and point. And that was enough to direct him without using words where to go and what to do. And it just is so kind to him.
Yeah.
because he couldn't process me going, okay, now put your backpack down and do this. And blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I mean, he just couldn't process it.
Yeah. And when I think about it, because I actually do that with a lot of my parents. And when I think about it, kids get sick of the nagging, and you get sick of nagging. And whether that's the intention behind what you're doing or not, that is how you always feel and how they always feel. Is it's like, I have to remind them 1,000 times. And like this, and so that also saves your energy, because you just, however many times you got to point, you just point, and then it saves your energy. And in my opinion, it saves a lot of your relationship with your child, because you do the same thing consistently every time, whereas the same words don't always come out of your mouth.
Right.
And if your emotions are heightened, you might give a look, which is fine, but you never know what words might fly out of your mouth. And so I think that's the other really cool thing about that is it helps on so many different levels when you're navigating that tension in those moments.
Right. And scripting, moms, do not script things for your ADHD child, meaning you don't say, well, we're going to pack up and do this, and then we're going to get in the car, and then we're going to go here, and we're going to get lunch here, and then we're going to go to the park, and then we're I mean, they can't handle scripting. And besides, it gives them an opportunity to push back if they're in the middle of something they're wanting to do and they don't want to do all that. And, you know, I love that V of love where you don't give them many choices when they're young.
Yep.
And as they grow and develop, you give them more and more choices rather than this way. You don't script and tell them everything. It's just not helpful, and they're not processing it. Yeah. So, you know, those are like some tips. What are some of your tips?
Oh my goodness. I really think that I'm just go back to like the biggest tip I have is to, in the moments when the things you've tried haven't worked, just have a conversation with your kid, because they're going to tell you what's going on inside their brains, and that's going to tell you why it's not working. And so because I think about even what you and I just shared, like pointing, someone's going to say, oh, well, we've done that and we've done it consistently and it's not working. Well, I want to know, what's your child thinking?
Right. What are they in the middle of?
What are they in the middle of?
When are you using
what on
that?
the list is overwhelming them? You might be like, well, it's just your backpack that's got to go here. But they might be like, okay, well, I got to get all this stuff out of my backpack. Or what if I forget this? Or what if I need that? They might be overthinking it. What is it that's going through your child's mind? They might say, actually, one of my clients sent me, they did a exercise with her daughter. And it was like telling how she feels about certain circumstances. And I was like, this is really telling. Yeah. Like every tantrum they've ever told me about aligns with a circumstance that she said was either uncomfortable or made her embarrassed, and I was like,
there it is.
I can give you all the tools. We can pressure all we want. But until you help her walk through mentally what is hard for her in those situations and combine it with the tools, it's not going to create, you're going to see improvement without that, but you're not going to create the lasting results where you're like, wow. And you're not going to create the results where she or he can go and independently problem solve on that level.
Yeah.
And so I think my biggest tool is just to like create a space to have conversation with your child. And like I said, my 5-year-old, he's been doing it for 2 years now, comes and says, Mom, my brain says, it started with my brain says I needed to bite them. I was like, well, what about your brain said you needed to bite them? And then before I'd know it, I'd get out what actually happened and why he reacted the way he did. And so now I'm like, okay, well, first off, I know.
He's a fighter.
Yes. I'm like, well, your sister definitely poked the bear and she knew what she was doing. Or I'm like, buddy, she didn't mean to bump you.
Right.
And he's like, oh. And so then I give him, it started with, I was like, okay, next time your brain tells you to bite someone, run and tell Mom. And so he'll run and he'll be like, oh, I need to bite someone. But now it literally went away, biting, hitting, whatever it was, because I created the pause in between by saying like, come and tell me, or like, come and I'll grab an apple and bite an apple or whatever. And I just started to try to create a pause so his brain had to think about it. But I couldn't have done that if I didn't know the driving force behind the biting.
Exactly.
Or the driving force behind, I mean, this kid will randomly just pick up a coloring crayon and color on the walls. I'm like, you're 5. And I'm like, what are you thinking? He's like, well, I was just wondering what color it would come up on the wall. And I'm like, all right, curiosity got best. Next time, ask me. And maybe there's a different way we can figure out what color it comes up on the wall.
Maybe I'll give you a piece of drywall for you to try it.
I'll paint it for you. But a lot of this, like, I can't implement the appropriate tool if I don't know what his brain's actually thinking. Because depending on that line of thought is going to depend on what's the better fit. Because sometimes you can break it down. One of the biggest ones we hear, and this is an accommodation too, is breaking that task down. Well, that's phenomenal.
Right.
And it is helpful. And also, if they are overwhelmed by that first step still, breaking it down doesn't help.
Yeah, they're not going to get started.
Right.
It's
or if it's broken down, we're in the middle of the semester, right? So all the kids are starting to have the missing assignments they're going to have.
Right.
And I've had several from middle schoolers to high schoolers to college kids. And I'm like, okay, we've had this to do on our list now for 3 weeks. What in your mind is happening that's making it hard to get this thing done?
And they're causing you to procrastinate.
Right. And every single one of them didn't actually have access to the assignment. But in their minds, because everything's online, I'll find it on my computer. Well, when we went to go find it, they were like, I have to email my teacher. And so to us, we're like, okay, well, why didn't you just do that? Well, they have to communicate with someone about something that they're embarrassed that they did.
Yeah.
And then they have to know specifically what they're even asking for. And they may not have paid attention in class. Like, there are so many reasons to avoid in that situation. And I needed to know, and every single person had a different reason. So I was like, I've got to understand what's driving it. One of them didn't actually like the teacher. That adds another thing. The other one loved the teacher, but didn't know specifically what they were asking.
And probably didn't want to disappoint that teacher they love. Yeah.
And then the other one was like, honestly, I just didn't realize that was still missing, which was fine because we got so much more done. And then I was like, okay, fair. But in the parents' eyes, they're like, we've had this list the whole time. But in the kids' eyes, they're like, well, yeah, but it went from like 10 to 1.
Yeah.
And this last one. And so that's where you got to find the wins, but then you've got to figure out like what's the actual thing in their mind so you can apply the appropriate tool.
That's great advice. So figure out what's actually going on in your child's mind and brain, and then help them through it.
Yeah. And that's what coaching does, because I get it often. Well, my kid doesn't want to talk to me. Well, this. And I'm like, that's what coaching's here for. Is like, we go and we do that diving. Sometimes the parent and the child have a great relationship, but the parent's like, I've got to step out. I've got to I mentally need a break for the sake of our relationship and our family. Great. Sometimes it's that the parent is developing the skills. They don't have them yet, and we want some faster results.
Right.
So they're going to borrow the skills from us and let us do it. And then sometimes it's because kids don't want to listen to their parents. And they're like,
really don't.
You go.
They really don't.
And I will say the biggest difference, I don't even care, even me as a parent. I mean, I may coach and I still am like, well, you're going to do this for this reason and this is why, because hi, I'm a mom. But also it's like the coach is not emotionally attached to that child and the result the child gets in the same way. So we get to hold a whole lot more patience and a whole lot of a different perspective.
And probably you get to be higher up looking at the whole picture.
Because we're not in the weeds. We're not pulling from the past 15 years of chaos that we've had.
Right.
We're just like, yeah, we're pretty used to this. And what do you want to do? And then when right now, like I said, we're in October. So some of our clients are hitting their dip and the parents are panicking. I'm like, hold up. This is good because this is where we get to learn the most.
Yeah.
And this is where we get to take everything we're going to learn and do something different. And this is where the biggest change starts to happen.
You've got about 6 weeks maybe left of
we do
some less.
We're in the throes of it. But through a parent's mind and even a teacher's mind, panic hits. And they're like, oh my gosh, we have to say. And I'm over here like, I actually had a client she had been doing, and she still is, but she was doing so good. And I was like, you all hired me. And I know why they hired me, but I was like, what you experienced last semester is not this semester. Now, we had done a ton of work to set it up that way. However, she came in and they were like, there's 16 missing assignments from the last 2 weeks. And I was like, yes, because I'm like, now I get to get answers. Now I get to do digging.
Right.
Now I get to learn what's going on in your brain in those hard moments. And that's where we're going to find your other pieces of this puzzle.
Yeah, that's where the golden nuggets
nuggets.
That's where they lie. Well, we've been on tips, and I know a number one mom tip that moms need is how to get out the door with your child with ADHD and bedtime routines. Like, how in the world do you get your child to bed?
That's literally the number one thing.
Number one thing. And I learned so many great tips, and, you know, a lot does depend on your child, but the most effective was not having your ADHD child run all over the house to different rooms, but do everything in one room. So literally when they wake up, most kids have to go to the bathroom is their first step. But if they can be able to go to the bathroom, take part of their clothes off if they wear PJs or whatever they wear, and then just walk back in the room straight to their hamper, get their clothes on. Like if they can just learn to do that, if it's a school morning, they don't need to stay in their pajamas. They need to, get right into their clothes, leave their bedroom, and then not have to go back to their bedroom.
Yeah.
So, and I also set things up so my ADHD child could stand in one position and reach the hamper and the dresser or the clothes or whatever they needed. They didn't have to move out of that spot. They literally could reach everything. And it just takes some creative organization, and it takes a willingness to not think normal. Like we didn't use a dresser.
Right.
We used like things in the closet and just laid clothes out. And so, he knew where to grab or just made things simple so he could stand in one place. And then backpack and shoes and all that stuff was by the door to the car, on the way. It wasn't kept in his room or whatever at that time. And then brushing teeth, like some people have upstairs and downstairs to their home, and not having them run back upstairs to brush teeth, but having them brush teeth right near where they ate breakfast. Those types of things where they can get through the house to everything in this room, move to the next room, move to the next room. Yeah. That's one way to help. And another way is doing those visual pictures. We did that a lot. And nonverbal cues if they got stuck along their routine or they got distracted, nonverbal cues. Also, our son asked to play the violin at age 5, and it was astonishing that he was so attracted to that instrument. But it meant he had to get up every morning, and usually that was the first thing he did after when he was dressed, was practice, even before breakfast sometimes. His brain could focus best first thing in the morning. Now, was it painful at 6 a.m. and the whole house was hearing, they were hearing this awful violin practice. No, it wasn't awful, but it was
morning time.
It was morning, and we just had to get over it because that's what he needed. He needed that practice first thing in the morning, and he could get 20, 25 minutes in of focus work. Yeah. And then go about the rest of his morning routine. But morning routine, what works for you?
Honestly, I would say there's not like one specific routine, but the consistency is always, it's simple and it's consistent.
Yes.
That's it. A lot of what you said, like I apply some of that, but I've also had clients who are like, well, we've done all that and it doesn't work. And that's where, one, keep everything consistent. And when it's not working, stay consistent. Don't stop. Like keep going. And then the simpler, the better. But then number 2 is in the morning time, if the morning routine's hard, how'd they sleep? What was their night like? What is their day like ahead? Are they like dreading something? Are they like today's Halloween? How many kids got excited to go to school today?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my kids never will. They're like, oh, okay, Mom, we're coming. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's Halloween. We're going in our costumes. Like they're ready. So it's like, what is there something else that's kind of driving the drag of the morning routine? Same with the time routine. Maybe they're laying awake at night and they're like, I don't want to go to bed because they're not ready to just lay awake at night. Or maybe
they don't like turning their brain off.
Exactly. That's one of my clients, he's like 35 and he calls it landing the plane. Maybe they don't know how to land the plane. And so the thought of overwhelm or the thought of trying to do that is dread and creates it. Or maybe they were really excited, or maybe you asked them to shut off a movie and they're having a hard time with the mental transition. So I think no matter what your routine is that you choose, keep it consistent and keep it simple. And then I go back to my other tip, go digging. Just start asking, like, what's making this hard for you?
Yeah. What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a thing that a lot of kids with ADHD too these kids do at night is they start, I call it the Tigger bounce. Mm-hmm. They start the Tigger bounce. And the reason they're doing that from an OT and what's happening in their brain is they are getting tired, but their brain, and they don't want to stop their brain, and they know what's coming. So they know this vertical jumping wakes you up. Have you ever gotten on a trampoline, or have you ever just in the middle of the floor tried jumping really fast 10 times? And watch what that does to your brain. It's like you just drank a cup of coffee. Yeah. It alerts and arouses your brain. And that's what they want. They don't want to go to sleep. They want to get back into that. So if you can just help your child learn we call it low and slow. Get low and slow, and you don't want to give them a directive like, you're not allowed to jump, but you as a mom try to avoid letting them jump and get in that vertical Tigger bouncing. That helps so much. If they can do calming, low and slow things, and using music is really powerful.
That's why I love Tonys. Tonys came out. It's like all my kids have their Tonys they put on at night.
I'm like so envious of that going, I wish I would have had that because we were still pushing cassette tapes and still.
I know.
I would run out.
I had my DVD player. And for context, I am the same age as her oldest.
Yeah.
And so, my parents, I had like that boom box.
Oh, yeah. We had that.
With the DVD or not the DVD, the CD player. And then the cassette on the front. And it was like whatever.
Yeah.
Or the radio that had commercials.
So true. And I think too, the simpler the bedtime routine, another thing we would do as parents is we would read in a hallway, like the rooms were close. They would have their doors open, and we would read to all, at that time, 4 kids before the 5th one came, but read to them outside their doors. And that was such a sweet time because they wound down by just listening to us read.
Yeah.
And we read classical books. I mean, some of the kids were 2, some of them were 8, but we read classical books and they loved it. And finding those things that work for you. And sometimes it takes planning. You can't be chaotic at bedtime. And we also chose to simplify our life to not be in a lot of extracurricular activities at that time. Every family has to choose their own thing, but it brought so much peace and brought so much calm to the routine. And walks. We did walks after dinner. Every night that we could do walks after dinner. And that was a calming thing as well.
That's right. So we do, my number one, so you say walks. I actually have my son, when he gets the Tigger, because it's usually about an hour before he knows bedtime's coming. Because we eat dinner, and then about an hour and a half later, he knows he's got to go to bed. So after dinner, I'll be like, you should run to the light post and back. And so the light post is like 5 houses down.
Yeah.
So I stand in my driveway, and he just takes off, and he comes back, and I'm like, how you feel? He's like, I want to go again. And that kind of gives his body and brain the moment to like get that bit of energy out.
Yeah.
But then I also, we live in an age of screens. Shut them off.
Shut them off. Yes.
Shut them off. Keep the music down. Like, we're a big music family. So usually after dinner, we do have music on, but we're mindful of what specifically is playing. Like, what is it doing to your brain?
Yeah.
But like, shut the screens down because we need less stimulation, not more. And this is where it's like, the more you can remove some of that, and the more you can help them spend that hour to hour and a half before they would wind down for the night, already winding their brain down.
Right. Low and
faster.
slow.
So it's not about going to bed.
Right.
It's like my daughter and I'll have a cup of hot tea and we'll just sit there and drink a cup of hot tea. Like, it's nothing big.
Right.
She's 5. She thinks it's the coolest thing ever. But it's like, that's every night. She's like, Mom, can we have some tea? And so it's just like, find something that gets them settled and is that transition. Because ADHD people also struggle with mental transitions, which is mentally shifting your focus from one task to another. And so it is a shift to go from operating throughout the day to settling in for the night. So if you can just have a consistent process of that mental shift, and it might be the tea, like, hey, babe, let's grab our tea and sit down. It might just be that the TV's off, like, let's listen to some music. Let's play a board game. Let's color. Let's,
all the quiet
it's homework,
things.
like, why don't you sit and do your homework? I'll sit next to you and read a book or do my work or clean the kitchen, whatever it is. But it's just, you've got to find a way to also, I go back to consistency and simple. It's like, what are you doing to help them kind of land that plane and mentally shift from where they're at in their day to like, we're winding down.
Yeah. That's really good. I love hearing. I feel like we could get moms. We could talk forever. And we could get moms in a room and just all share tips and ideas.
Forever.
It's so helpful. I hope those of you that are listening are getting some good ideas. But professionals can help you. Like, it's,
Yeah.
It's helpful to seek out professionals.
It's so helpful. And I'll tell you this, as someone who's an expert in ADHD, OT changed the game for my 5-year-old. And this is where I'm always mindful of, like, what age are we at?
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm like, okay, there are some things that we're old enough now to communicate and whatever. But here's what I can tell you is there are times I tell families, you need to send your child to OT while we help you build your parent skill set.
Right.
Because OT is so good at helping children understand their body, and that's where the self-awareness really begins.
That's right.
And so and it gives you, like, when you mentioned, like, the pressure and calming down, like, I learned that through OT. I did not know that prior to do that with Teddy. And I didn't even realize that was a coping. The OT was like, do you realize that you're the same? Because I came in really upset one day, and she gave me a hug, and then I, like, grabbed. She was like, "Oh, you need the pressure to settle." And then she explained. I was like, "This has been me my whole life. This makes so much more sense." And sometimes it's the opposite. But they really, like, I can't. If you've got a younger child, elementary school, maybe even middle school, that's when I'm like, OT might be your starting point, and let's go learn some parenting skills. In middle school is where I start to ask, like, what's going to make the biggest difference in this moment? And sometimes it's getting the grades together and, like, helping them build that confidence.
Right.
And then we go, but it really is. I'm like, there are times it's coaching and there are times it's OT, and usually we'll end up swapping eventually and you'll go the other one. And sometimes it's both. The amount of times I send kids to OT and I'm like, you come work, like, let me give you the skills and we can double dip.
And I'm going to share just a minute here about moms. How do you know whether it's a right fit? This OT that's working with your child is a right fit or not. This was an area of specialty for me because I did a lot of training in sensory integration and sensory processing. It's just wiring of the brain and how kids are wired, and learning what that child needs. But when you have a child with ADHD, their treatment, that therapist needs to take them really high and really low, meaning all the activities that get them wound up and excited. And when you think about, anger is the highest, and not that you take them to that anger point, but, when you think about a kid that's just, and they're running all over and they're just bouncing off the walls, when you think about that type of behavior to a child who's cuddly and winding down and sleepy and, beginning to settle, that's low. So the high and the low. And you help them learn to get what we call just right. The just right means the brain is in quiet alert, and that's where learning happens. That's where a child can learn and absorb information and begin. It doesn't mean they don't learn while they're doing something else or their body's moving. We know that kids learn while their body's moving. It just means they're quiet alert. That's the goal, because that's where learning takes place. And so you help a child. And that's what OT should look like taking a lot of high, a lot of low, and that child learning to feel, what does it feel like to be in just right?
Yep.
And it's very creative and very fun to watch a child get there.
Yeah.
And so that's one way you have the right fit.
Well, and that's why I recommend OT for younger kids especially, is because one of the characteristics of ADHD is that we do not have the innate skill set to be able to bring ourselves to that middle ground. And OT helps them start to develop that skill set and be more aware of their body in the process of doing so. Because when you're younger, you can't do that just through thought work. You can't just think your way to that. Now, as an adult, you absolutely can get to, like, we're way more mature. We're way more self-aware. We're like, we can get ourselves more here. Now, mind you, as an ADHD adult, I have to have a combination of both still. But I can think my way through it if I have to. If I have nothing that can like pressure me into it, like physically, like my husband there to like calm me down, I can think my way through it and get myself back to middle. Yeah. But kids can't. And they're not in a place yet to really be able to do that level of self-awareness and mindset work that's required, which is why I love OT, is because it helps teach them through their body. That's how Teddy learned to say, well, my brain is saying this, because she was showing him what his body was doing.
Exactly.
And then she was saying, like, his brain. And that's what was so cool about it. Was I was like, this is really neat. And that's what made me even more convicted. And like, sometimes it's got to start there. Yeah. But then parents get to go develop the skills so that they can do the mindset work as their child gets older. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you got a high school, college adult who's got the combination of both, because their parents learned the skill set for them. They went and did this with the OT, and then the parent transferred this other skill set, and now they're operating.
So best tip ever. Coaching, ADHD coaching, and OT.
Double dip.
So good. Yeah. Okay, let's share our own personal favorite tip, because I really think I'm undiagnosed ADHD, but like something you do right now to help your brain. Okay, I'll share mine first, because that'll give you a minute to think. Yeah. So one thing I do, this is so silly, I'm confessing right now. but I will run up and down the stairs 10 times.
Okay. I
Like
that.
just as fast as I can. And I'll make sure I'm in my bare feet or in shoes so I don't slip because they're wood stairs.
Yeah.
But sometimes I just need to get the energy out. And I just run up and down the stairs 10 times.
I'm like thinking of mine now. I'm like, y'all are going to be like, oh my gosh, you help people do what? Honestly, mine's that I just intentionally avoid the laundry. Not from a place of like avoidance, but laundry has always been the thing that overwhelms me.
Yeah.
And to conserve my energy when I'm in a state of massive overwhelm, I just let it pile up. And then one day I'll tackle it. But like, I would say my number one thing, and you walk into my house, you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, this is the most disgusting thing ever. But mine truly is deciding what can just be messy and what doesn't.
Right.
Because I do have my moments, and I'll go for walks. Like I have my moments where I'm like, I physically got to get some of this out. But most of the time, mine's more on the emotional side of it and the overwhelmed side. And so I just decide what to like. So if you walked into my laundry room right now, you would see Mount Everest. They're all clean. And we're pulling from it.
Oh, yeah. That's the part I hate, putting it away.
Yeah, but I'm like, I do. I like, and that's one of the things I coach my people on is I'm like, you're going to get that done eventually.
Yeah.
But what all's on your to-do list and what is it that is like going to make the biggest dent in your life? And right now it's not laundry. I got a lot on my plate right now. And I'm like,
laundry's not it. That's
laundry's
so good.
not it. So, and sometimes it's cooking and sometimes it's, but mine is probably just like glass versus rubber balls. And the glass balls are the ones if they drop, they shatter. And the rubber balls are the ones that bounce back. I'm like, laundry is always going to be there. It's bouncing
Laundry's
back up.
always the one.
So I would say mine's like less. Mine's an intentional avoidance, not an unintentional avoidance. And the difference is I know what the reason why, and I know when I'm going to get it done. And it's not always a date. Sometimes it's but yeah, mine's, if you walked in, my husband's like, how do you help people with this? And I'm like, because like, look at how much I like get done and everything else. You're not sitting here like, oh, I don't forget things anymore. It's not like, oh, you forget things. It's like,
maybe there'll be a day when you can hire a little college student.
Well,
and
my
they come in and
does it, but
and come in and do your laundry is the best.
No, my nanny usually does it, but she's back in school. And so I'm like, you need to study. She's practicing to be a speech language pathologist.
Oh, there you go.
So she just hasn't done my laundry. And so she was like, Tyler, you can do it for 2 months. And
she
walked
her
in
back.
and she was like, you can't do it for 2 months. And I was like, no, but Thanksgiving break's coming up. Do you want some extra hours? So technically I have that person. She's just out of commission for the last couple months.
When I'm overwhelmed, this is another confession. I still have a blankie.
Yes.
It has silk. It's like has the silk edge. And I just get in a cocoon and feel my little silk blanket.
You will never catch, you won't always see it. Sometimes you will catch the blanket on every single one of I work remotely. So everything I do is on Zoom. I always have a weighted blanket on me. Always. It doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees outside or I literally always have my blanket on me.
Love it.
Yeah. I will like bring a fan in to make it colder so that I'm not sweating. But like, I like that's a sensory thing.
I confessed these things to my husband before we got married. I said, I have just so you know, this is what I'm bringing into married life. My blankie, and I think it was a teddy bear at that time or something. I'm like, you have to be okay with this.
I know.
It's great. Well, we hope that today's talk helps some of you moms listening out there. We all struggle when we have kids with ADHD or ourselves.
Yep.
If we have ADHD, it's real life and there's help. And you moms, you can do it. You're not alone. You can do it. Find the help find the people that can come partner with you. I know Tyler's company is a great help to lots of parents. And get that OT your child needs. And professionals, your educators, people around you can help you. And your child, my ADHD child, he's a successful musician living in New York City.
Very successful. I saw some cool videos before this.
Yeah, living in New York City. And who'd have thought? Because I was the mom thinking, probably like many of you, will my child ever live on his own? Will he ever make it? Will she ever make it? Will she ever be able to do this? And look at you now.
We got it.
You did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took quite the road. And my mom would say there were a lot of tears on all ends.
Absolutely.
But I wouldn't have given any of it up for the result I'm getting.
So great. Well, you moms, you can do it. Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
All right. Thanks so much for listening to Help, I Have Kids. If you're tuning into this podcast, that means you're a mom who's curious, committed, and ready to learn. And we see you. We'd love for you to join our Help, I Have Kids Facebook community, where moms just like you are connecting, asking questions, and encouraging each other every day. It's a space for real conversations, expert insight, and support from moms who get it, because we're all in this together. And if you know a mom who's feeling unsure or maybe overwhelmed, or just needs to be reminded that she can do it, she can advocate for her child with confidence, share this episode with her. We're building a village here, and we're glad you're a part of it.